For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by Steve Hook from The Right Hook, which you can catch right here every Friday, 5 p.m. on X America News. Well, Steve, it's another Monday, and we have yet another assassination attempt on President Trump. Depending on how you want to count things, it's the third serious attempt, but now there's now at least 5 people dead or sitting in jail for plotting attacks on President Trump. I mean, this is getting just out of control. Something's got to be done.
Well, something has to be done, and I think it should start with the media and, frankly, the Democrat Party. I'm so sick of hearing that MAGA is the problem and Trump is a Nazi. And I mean, history shows that, how many serious attempts on Biden's life were there by MAGA? None, not one, not a single one. Same for Obama, not a single one. Every president that's been killed in this country's history has been killed by a leftist. That's just a fact. You know, go all the way back to Garfield, Lincoln. I mean, all of them. They were all Democrats or leftist Democrats. And they're playing a game now that I think, Michael, that it's moral relativism with them. So they look at it. This is why they can cheer on the guy that shot the healthcare CEO, because it's for the greater good, don't you know? This is why they rally around Abrego Garcia, the MS-13 wife-beating gangbanger who was smuggling humans. This is why they rally around him, because he's the best. And it really comes down to, it really does come down to TDS, man. These people are absolutely unhinged. The media knows this, they play on it. The Democrats know this, they play on it. The Democrats' only base are these unhinged folks, so the Democrats play to them. And I really do think that it's well, there's never been a better case for the ballroom. That's for damn sure.
Yep, we'll get to that here in a minute too. But yeah, I mean, yet another attempt, and to your point, it's always the left. I mean, you can go back to Kennedy, communist, or the CIA, or at least their patsy was. Yeah. Same with MLK. Another lifelong Democrat. It's always the left that resorts to violence. We talked about this a year ago now, when people started going through the numbers. Actually, I think ironically, also from the SPLC, where they try to pretend all political violence is on the right. It isn't. They own it whole cloth. The only way you get to this psychotic conclusion that there's more violence on the right is when you count a bunch of things that have nothing to do with the right as right-wing violence, like things that happen in prison, black nationalists, things like that. When you load the deck and then discount left-wing violence, say, oh, well, we don't know what really motivated this, even though it's obviously left-wing idealism. that promotes it. Same with all these protests, even the Tesla terrorism. They were trying to say, oh, that's nonpartisan. That's just because of Elon Musk. They live in fantasy land. We're going to have to do something about it. And it should have already been clear before, but I don't know what it's going to take to get, the DOJ, President Trump, and the Republicans to finally throw down the gauntlet and do something about this. Because, you've got Hassan Piker out there literally calling for people's deaths, saying, he wants blood in the streets. And, he's now over there showing up at campaign events for Democrats that are running for office, speaking at them. He's now doing exposés for, I think it's the New York Times just brought him in. And they're pretending somehow this guy has valid opinions, embracing him. It's teachers. I got a video we're going to play later, and guys, heads up already, there's some naughty language in it. But we're going to play a compilation of reactions from leftists, just regular old people, that they're so, the brain rot is so bad. They're posting this to their social media accounts that they don't care that this is what you see, that these are the values that they hold and they reflect. They don't care. We have to do something about this. There's no getting around it at this point.
No, put it this way. When Hassan Piker, and that's a good name for him because he is a piker, when Hassan Piker becomes mainstream, the left is completely off the rails, and they are off the rails, but they're off the rails for a reason. Trump broke them. They have no other avenue to politically go after Trump, really. That's why you get, when Trump, and I know you're going to talk about it later, the 60 Minutes interview with Norah O'Donnell, he ripped her to shreds, rightly so. But the left doesn't have a message other than if Trump's for it, we're against it. And not only that, but you listen to this kid, he's a 31-year-old college grad, teacher of the year in California, trying to commit assassination. And he's using not just similar rhetoric, but identical rhetoric to Ted Lieu, for example, Democrat, California. The exact same language. Trump is a Nazi. Trump is a pedophile. Trump is this. They don't just make this crap up on their own. They soak in it online. They soak in it from watching CNN and MSNBC and listening to crap like the New York Times podcast, which is the one who gave Piker this platform. And again, moral relativism. This is a perfect example of this. On that particular podcast, one of the hostettes said that she felt perfectly fine in stealing some limes from Whole Foods because, after all, Whole Foods is a corporation, and screw them, in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. So all of a sudden, rules, laws, they don't apply to the left because we live in an unjust society, don't you know? And therefore, anything goes. If that's going to be their message going forward, I will doubt the midterms if they continue with this. Up until this point, I said the Dems are almost a lock for the midterms. Well, DeSantis came out today and said, guess what? We've just redrawn our districts in Florida. We're going to add 4 more Republican seats. Take that, Virginia. And Virginia's been shut down from making their move because it's against their own state constitution. So I think the tide is starting to turn a little bit here on the midterms. I'm not saying that Republicans are going to win, and there's still a good chance they will lose. But people are seeing what's happening. And when Obama goes on his social media accounts and says, we don't really know the guy's motive, after the guy leaves a rambling manifesto, has loads and loads of internet history that is all over X right now and other social media platforms, you can see where the guy's head was at. The motive is pretty goddamn clear. And unless you're really intentionally, I've often said intentional blindness is bad enough, but intentional stupidity is unforgivable. This is intentional training of stupidity. This is why these people believe this stuff, because people like Obama come out and say, I'm surprised he hasn't said that he could have been my son. I'm surprised he hasn't come out and said that yet, like he did for Trayvon Martin. Cole Allen could have been my boy. It's pathetic how far they've fallen.
Yeah, well, don't hold your breath. I'm sure that's probably coming next after all the backlash from his tweet. We'll get to that here in a minute. But really, we've got to be turning this tragedy into an opportunity right now. use this as a way to finally motivate these Republicans in the House, in the Senate, to get the job done and get these things across the finish line that we've all been fighting for. And again, we can't keep playing around. This is not 1960 anymore. These Democrats are communists. They are enemies of our country, enemies of our freedom. They are violent revolutionaries. As you said, he regurgitated the same talking points we see from their talking heads in the media and from many elected Democrats. This guy's manifesto, which I've heard a lot of people calling a mini-festo, since it was just like 1 page long and basically just nothing but left-wing nonsense talking points. We use this as a moment to ignite something. Like, part of his motivation was, Trump's a pedo, Trump's a rapist, blah, 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 Epstein files. Guys, get your shit together. Start doing an investigation and locking people up. Again, you're handing them a tool that they are beating you with, and then you're crying about it, saying, they're just lying about President Trump. Well, who cares? Who cares about President Trump in this? Because you're giving them the fuel to do it. So start an investigation, actually start arresting people, and take that card out of their hands. Not to mention, it's the right thing to do. So start getting serious about it, because we've already seen who these people are. They will exploit anything they can to get their talking points. These people are deranged lunatics, so we've got to start treating them accordingly. But we also need to do the right thing and arrest these criminals, both affiliated with Epstein, all these deep state operatives, everything else, because keep in mind, their power structure is entirely in place still. So even when Trump is out of office, they're still going to have all these worms embedded in our system, in the federal government, that we have done nothing about in 15 months now. So it's time to get serious, guys. We got to do this. But to get back on track here, meet the woke assassin, Cole Allen, anti-MAGA, anti-Christian manifesto, part of the Wide Awakes group, attended No Kings rally, confirmed that he targeted Trump and officials. And in this weird manifesto he put out, he's even talked about, he didn't want to have to attack the D.C. police or hotel security. He was going to shoot through the Secret Service if he had to, but he'd try not to kill him. But his real targets were President Trump and administration officials. Again, I think we got lucky here, once again, especially considering the lax security, which we're going to get more to that here in a little bit. But even, people from within were commenting on that they were able to get in with vapes and other things that Secret Service normally confiscates, that you could get into the lobby of the hotel, which I do understand, they had other guests there, but why not clear out the hotel for this event? And again, like you said, if there's ever a reason to finish the ballroom, we know it right now. And I'm going to look for an update in a second and see if Blanche has terminated this lawsuit, because again, it should not be allowed to go forward. But again, this is just leftist mental illness on display that they all continue to embrace, and it continues to infect people like this. We've got to start taking the threat seriously and doing something about it.
Yeah. Boy, yeah, here we are again, huh? I mean, we said the same thing after Butler, PA. We said the same thing after the freak show went to they were all picketing in front of the justices' houses, and that guy went there to kill Kavanaugh. And of course, we saw Charlie Kirk get taken out. We saw the attack on Trump's golf course, where that guy was. And the thing is, Michael, you say they're all mentally deranged. I think the ones that are carrying this out, obviously, have got screws loose. But what scares, and they scare me, these lone wolf type people that just sit in their basement on their computer and absorb all this crap. But what's even more damning are the people that know that what we're doing is going to eventually get this man killed, so we're going to keep doing it. I don't think the people in the media are mentally deranged. I think they've got an agenda. I don't think Ted Lieu is mentally deranged. I think he wants to see President Trump taken out. And I think a lot of them feel that way. And when the regulars, the normies of the left, let's say that, the people that the left looks up to, start saying this, then you're going to get people to act on it. Imagine, if you will, if Sean Hannity went on his show and said, well, obviously we've got to go to war. Obviously what we have to do is we start, good God, we know that Joe Biden groped children. He's got to go. I mean, how do you think the media would respond to that? They would lose their ever-loving mind, but they have no problem saying it against Trump. And anybody that thinks Trump is in that Epstein file in any way, shape, or form that proves he did anything, you're living in a fantasy land. They would have, that shit would have been out in the streets 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. They would have released everything they had. and let the chip fall where they may. But they don't have anything, so they can't. It's just, I mean, it really is a sad state of affairs that the Democrat Party has fallen to this level that they would actually condone violence. And make no mistake, they are condoning violence.
Yes. Well, and that's something else that we've talked about here before, that especially with Democrat voters under 40, over 25% of them believe that political violence against the right is acceptable. And that's, again, this Cole Allen guy was part of this whole pro-trans whatever group. They're losing the argument. They're lost all their momentum. You know, once the fear was finally gone of standing against them, once Biden was out of the White House, all of a sudden, all these issues are gone. All of a sudden, it's become patently obvious to them that most of the country is not behind this radical LGBTQ MS-13 whatever nonsense agenda. That they are on their own. They are an island of mentally deranged lunatics, and now they're going to resorting to violence because, again, like you said, this is systematic. This is being encouraged by their figureheads in the media, by the leaders of their party, and by their echo chamber, like Blue Sky. I mean, look at some of the stuff there right now. It's just insane. But that's who these people are. We've got to do something to correct this. We have to get them out of places where they have power to inflict their desires on the public, whether that's teachers or whatever. I mean, we're going to get more into that later with just how corrupted this is. But something else that happened over here, Erica Kirk was in attendance. Erica Kirk rushed out of the White House Correspondents' Dinner after shooting. I just want to go home. So, I mean, as bad as this was on everybody else that was there, and I'm sure a lot of people were scared. Others were sitting there like, they're used to this. Kennedy barely flinched. Trump barely flinched, along with a number of others, because, once again, this is just yet another attempt, and the Secret Service were able to take them down. But, and
what happened, by the way, Michael, what happened to Erica Kirk after this story broke? The left immediately started mocking her online. They immediately started mocking her. Of course they did, because that's what they do, because they're scumbags.
They're soulless.
They use moral relativism, and then they use projection. So they accuse you of being what they actually are. They are they have lost the script, and the only script they have is hate Trump, hate everything that Trump does, and violence is acceptable. So Luigi Mangione is a hero. Abrego Garcia is a hero. All of these people are heroes to them now, or martyrs to the cause, if you will. It's pathetic. And it would be one thing if it were just a whole bunch of knuckleheads doing this, but it's the same people that claim to be the smartest people in the room always. And there's nothing smart about them anymore. They're just violent reactionaries.
Yeah, they're mentally deranged psychopaths. We have to start treating them accordingly. I mean, again, we can look through what this guy was posting online. Shooter's tweets found suggesting radicalization fueled by Democrat messaging. So we're going through, looking through his X and Blue Sky accounts on what he's retweeting, what he's posting, what he's saying, and it's all the same nonsense talking points that the left has been spewing. Like, these people believe lies. They believe insane things. A lot of it is copes because, again, with Trump's victory, a lot of the things were that they thought they had gained momentum, they'd gained superiority, that the majority of country was behind them on the trans agenda and everything else. All this nonsense they believe came crashing down, and they have not been able to cope with it or handle it. They're getting more and more unhinged. They've embraced violence as a political party for a long time. We have to start dealing with that reality for what it is and treating them accordingly. Like, every one of these people that put up these tweets or these videos, I'm going to play for you guys here in a few minutes. Every one of them should be in the inside of the jail cell for the next 20 years and then in a mental institution after that. Part of this, I do think, is our fault.
For a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure the rest of his life, or he should be. Attempted murder, assault on federal agents. There's plenty of things to charge him with to make sure he never sees the light of day again, and that's the way it should be. He should suffer.
Damn right.
But yeah, we've got to start treating this problem for what it is. And I know I do blame the light hands from the DOJ and the Trump administration, reducing and dropping charges on a lot of these Tesla terrorists and the people from the original rallies out in California and other places against ICE, the anti-ICE protests. A lot of these we keep backing down on, or not even, not going after all these people in Minnesota and Chicago and other places where they continue to attack and assault ICE agents and ICE facilities. It's time to start treating this seriously. These are the kind of, if you don't, this is what it leads to. That these deranged lunatics think it's okay, think that they're in the right, they believe they have the moral high ground and that it's okay. And if we don't start treating that threat for what it is, we're going to get more. I mean, this is real attempt number 3, 5 by some people's measure. But 4 is going to be just around the corner. I mean, think about it. We're less than 2 years since the first assassination attempt at Butler. Ryan Routh was just a few months after that. Now we have yet another one, and we're barely into the second year of Trump's term.
And you know what, Michael? All 3 guys you just mentioned, from Cole Allen to Ralph to what's his name on the building in Butler, all of them spewed the same exact things. All of them said the same things. Who else has said that? Well, I mentioned Ted Lieu. He's said that. Hakeem Jeffries has said that. Nancy Pelosi, going back to 2016, has said that. Chuck Schumer has said that. Nazis, fascistic. These words, these buzzwords, and these buzzwords are used for a reason. And the thing that's really a crying shame about someone like Cole Allen was this guy was, by all accounts, a pretty smart guy, but he was bombarded with this stuff. His parents and brother have come forward saying, look, he was speaking some very radical stuff there. In the last few years, he's really been radicalized. Well, he didn't just get radicalized on his own. He had to hear it from somewhere, and he did. He heard it from everybody, from the ladies on The View to the Jimmy Kimmel show to the Democrat higher ups, to the media. It's just, and of course college professors, can't take them out of the equation too. God knows they foment a lot of this garbage. So yeah, something's got to be done about it. But this guy had everything to live for, and he pissed it all away because he fell into the trap of hatred that was basically spoon-fed to him. It's just like, like they were doing in Gaza with the kids, telling them all how the Jews were grinding bones to make their matzah when they were in kindergarten. They were hearing this crap. This is what happened to this guy. Didn't take him as long to get radicalized, but radicalized he got, and now he's gonna be spending the rest of his life, or at least a good chunk of it, in federal prison.
Yep, and where he should be, where a lot of these people should be. They're showing us they cannot be part of civil society. We can't get along with them. We can't have a discussion or a debate or even an argument with them anymore, or they resort to violence. Again, look what happened to Charlie Kirk. He was going on college campuses having conversations, and instead they frame it as his words are violence, where their violence is just words. And because he was making big inroads, that's really what it was behind. I get it that, technically it was Tyler Robinson's furry boyfriend, didn't like him. So that's why it happened. But he didn't like him because he's winning the argument, winning the debate, winning over students on these college campuses. Because, once your eyes are open, once you're given information that breaks your view, most people, want to go towards truth, not propaganda, not reframing, not spin, not nonsense. They want to know the truth. And once they're shown the truth, they change their view. And that's why they want to kill people like President Trump, like Charlie Kirk, like others. Again, we are going to have more assassinations from the left, not fewer. It's going to happen again. There's going to be another conservative killed, and I would bet within the next 6 months, because these people are still so amped up on this. And right now it looks like the midterms are the Republicans are probably going to get smoked because of lack of action more than anything else, and people are just frustrated with it and don't feel like they should go vote, because why vote for the same losers in the House and Senate that refuse to do anything? But if it starts looking like things turn around,
it's been a big wake-up call for Thune, I'll bet. Because you mentioned Ron Johnson a little while ago. Ron Johnson's putting pressure on Thune. Apparently the phone calls The switchboard in Congress is lit up like a Christmas tree, basically
Good.
24/7, saying, pass the damn Save America Act. Thune has promised he's not going to do it, but now you've got other senators in his caucus coming out and openly advocating for getting rid of the filibuster. Ron Johnson said yesterday to Maria Bartiromo, they will do it, meaning the Democrats. The Democrats are going to do this. We know where their head's at. They use violence, they use rhetoric, they use lies, they use whatever they can to push for more power, because that's the game for the Democrats. It's all about power. And if John Thune if he can't read the tea leaves on this, then we're in serious trouble. But I suspect that he's getting a lot of pressure right now.
I bet he is, but I don't think he'll read the tea leaves, because that's part of the problem right now is you have these uniparty rhinos, undocumented Democrats that have more loyalty to their friends in DC than they do the American people. And they will continue to protect them. They will continue to pretend the filibuster is some sacred thing that has to be preserved at all costs, or we're destroying our republic. They're going to continue with that line, even though the minute Democrats gain power, they're going to get rid of it. And then Thune's like, oh, shucks. Well, I never thought the Democrats would do that, because that's what we're going to hear from them. And there won't be any pressure. There won't be any accountability, because we know that they know exactly what's going on. We know the game is up. They're out there literally telling us what they're going to do, that they're going to pack the Supreme Court. They're going to impeach justices. They're going to go after all the Trump officials. There's even Democrats out there saying, well, you know what? Trump's pardon for J6 defendants doesn't apply to anybody that was that we arrest in the next batch. And there's thousands more of them. We know their names. We just hadn't got to giving them handcuffs yet and charging them. So we already know what they're going to do. But Thune and others refuse to fight back. They refuse to do anything about it, to deal with the battlefield as it's being drawn by their opponents. And that has to change. We have to start getting serious.
It really may change. The pressure may be brought to bear so hard on Thune that it doesn't matter what he says, he's not going to have a choice but to change. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. And I know if it were up to Thune, it would not happen. But I'm telling you, if the switchboards are lighting up like this, that means every senator, every Republican senator is getting bombarded with phone calls. Every Republican congressman and congresswoman are getting bombarded with phone calls. That is going to trickle up. This is called trickle up anger, and it's going to happen. And it's going to happen to Thune, and he better get his act together, because I'll tell you something, if he sits on his hands and allows this to happen, and then the Democrats do in fact win the midterms and start arresting everybody, man, he's going to have hell to pay. Maybe he'll be fine with his friends inside the Beltway, but he won't be able to go anywhere in this country without getting just pelted with insults and anger and frustration. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I think that this assassination attempt is going to backfire. This is why Obama is trying to downplay it with the we don't know the motivation. Of course, we know the motivation. You jackass, you lying scumbag. We know the motivation. But Thune had better man up on this, because other people are manning up. I mentioned Ron DeSantis. He's manning up. He's saying we're going to go ahead and redraw the districts in Florida, give the Republicans 4 more seats. They do that, they could effectively block any advancement that Democrats could make, unless every single Republican voter sits at home because they're like, screw them all. Well, I understand that mindset. I really get it, because I'm frustrated too. But if that is the mindset, then never, ever, ever bitch about the fact that you don't have power anymore, because you're never going to get it back if we give it to the Democrats, ever. It's gone. And then you can blame the Republicans all you want. But I think that there's only select few that really deserve the blame. John Thune, chief among them.
Well, unfortunately, I think it's the majority, because otherwise we would have seen something happen before now. But I do think
a lot of it, though, Michael.
Well,
he's blocked.
What's the point? Again, the point that a lot of the people are making is, what's the point of giving them power again if they're just not going to use it? And that is most people in the House. That's most senators. Why should we continue to reward them and keep them in power? Something's got to happen. I don't know. If there's real change, I think you'll probably see a turnaround in how people feel. But otherwise, they're like, well, this is the 3rd assassination attempt. What does it take to get you retards to wake up there?
I think, Michael, just to kind of underscore what you're saying, and I agree with it. Kash Patel was on Bartiromo's show yesterday, and now this is one of these things where we all just kind of go, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. But he
Yeah.
said flat out, arrests are coming very soon for a whole slew of things, not the least of which is the Russia. He's going to go after that. He said arrests are coming. Todd Blanche is starting to kind of hint that, hey, big things are coming here. Keep your head on a swivel because you're about to see a whole bunch of indictments and stuff coming down. Now, we've never really been told that much. We've been kind of alluded to, if you saw what I saw, you'd be shocked and that kind of garbage. But now they're out there saying arrests are coming. So
they've been saying that for a year, dude. Sorry. I mean, they've hauled this out 7 times now that they're getting ready to arrest John Brennan. I'll believe it when I see it. Unfortunately,
I see it too, but I don't think you go on Maria Bartiromo 2 days after an assassination attempt and say, look, let me be clear. And that's his exact words. Arrests are coming and they're coming soon. So yes, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm with you on that.
I think he would do that.
The pressure is starting to work.
Oh, I think he'd do that. I mean, he was doing it last week right before this, too. Same thing, promising arrests are coming soon. This week, we're not going to see it. It's not going to happen. I mean, I have zero faith in them at this point. If something was going to happen, it would have happened 6 months ago. We're 15 months in.
Well, what if it does happen in 2 weeks? What if it does happen in a month?
I bet it's going to be like before. They're going to screw up or drop these cases. I have zero faith in them at this point. Blanche is part of the problem. That's what we kept hearing behind the scenes. Till suddenly he was the front man. That Blanche was the one blocking things. Blanche is the one that got rid of the weaponization working group. All of a sudden we're trying to pretend this guy's some kind of hero. He needs to be replaced. The guy's a lifelong Democrat.
Well, he's interim, at least at this point.
Yeah, well, he better go. He was a lifelong Democrat. He only switched over to be a Republican until 2024. And what we keep hearing and seeing is him blocking a lot of this stuff from the inside. We keep hearing that he was part of the problem. I have trouble believing now all of a sudden he's at the helm of the ship, something major is going to change. Yeah, I get the SPLC case moved forward. We're going to talk more about that. But we need a killer. We need a pit bull. We need somebody in there that does not care what the New York Times and CNN.
Lee.
Yeah,
God.
Mike Lee. Anybody.
I'd like to see him in there.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz, Mike Lee, anybody that will actually fight. Even Andrew. It's blanked on his name. The guy that was the AG in Missouri that's up there now. Andrew Bailey. He'd be awesome. But we need a real fighter up there. Honestly, I think we need 2 people. We need somebody to really run the show behind the scenes, and we need somebody as a front man, the face of the organization that can actually handle the media, throw it right back in their faces, spit facts, kind of like Kayleigh McEnany used to do. We need somebody like that that'll bring a binder up there with them and just hand them their ass over and over again, address all their concerns, and again, we got to start fighting to win. Let's jump back to...
It's a shame that we can't get Rubio to do another job.
Yeah, his plate's already full. And, I don't know if that's really his area of expertise. We got to leave him in the 19 roles that he's already good at. CNN pundit claimed Trump wants us dead just before a White House Correspondents' Dinner attack. Believe it or not, that's S.E. Cupp. I don't know what happened to her, but, she went off the rails a long time ago. But again, the media, pretends they're the victims. They're already out there pretending they're the victims from what happened yesterday. That, this is just putting all our people in the crosshairs. It's unnecessary. But again, these people need locked up.
S.E. Cupp is I tell you what, if you want a healthy dose of cynicism, take a look at her career arch. Once she got a job at CNN, all of a sudden everything flipped with her. She followed the money, is what she did. She's in it for filthy lucre, and she doesn't much care who she takes a dump on, provided the checks keep rolling in, and that's what CNN's paying her for. You'll notice that CNN, with the exception of Scott Jennings, CNN tends to hire Republicans that really aren't Republicans at all. For their say, we're fair and balanced here too. We keep it honest. I mean, good God, here's Michael Steele. Michael Steele's a Republican. He used to be the Republican chair. It's like, yeah, okay, good. And S.E. Cupp is in that category. They're only in it for the money. And she'll say, and I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years if there's not a switch, then all of a sudden she's rooting for the Republicans again.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Jimmy Kimmel, 2 days ago, Melania has a glow like an expectant widow. And again, no accountability from the left. They're not pulling his show. They should be. But once again, the left weaponizes every tool they have, whether it's Hollywood, education, the media. We have to do something to stop this. I don't know if it's pulling FEC or FCC licenses. Or really what we need is an arm like the left has. We need to start targeting the advertisers, boycott all of them. Anybody that advertises on Kimmel's program, sever your ties with them. I don't care who it is, what company, how good you think they are, whatever. A message has to be sent, and the only one they're going to hear is financial. So it's time to go after every advertiser for Jimmy Kimmel's program and make them feel the pain, even if they issue an apology. There have to be consequences once and for all. And at this point, we need to hold up their corpse as a message to others that will continue to fund this.
Well, hold up their corpse is getting very dangerously close to what they're the kind of rhetoric they're using. But I understand your point. His career corpse. To put it. Yeah, this guy has not been funny for a long time.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been funny since the Man Show. And of course, the Man Show was when he was slapping girls in the butt and watching big-breasted women bounce on trampolines. Of course, that's before he became all woke and crap. Kimmel's another one that is just he's playing to his audience. He knows his audience is shrunk. It's barely there. It's pretty much he doesn't even get a third of the viewers that Gutfeld gets on Fox News, for God's sakes. So he doesn't have much of one, but what he does have, they're rabid for him because he says stuff like Melania Trump has the glow of an expectant widow. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's the thing is, the right doesn't do boycotts, Michael. As you know, typically conservatives don't play that stupid game. And Kimmel knows that, so he feels safe. But I think it is time that people start calling these companies and saying, "Hey, look, I bought the last box of this product A, so long as I see your commercials on Jimmy Kimmel, and I will be checking." This guy needs to be. He needs to have his career come to a screeching halt because he's not funny and he is potentially pretty damn dangerous.
Yeah, well, at this point, like I said, I think these people already know what they're funding, so it's time for them to pay a price. The excuse I usually hear from Republicans will say, because it's not conservatives, is, oh, well, all the workers are going to get harmed if we go after this company. They're going to lose their jobs and it's going to hurt their family. I don't care anymore. I don't care what the consequences are. We have to put an end to this. So if you're working for one of these leftist companies, maybe you should start looking for another job because you're supporting it too. And I know that they're going to say, oh, that's not really true. Maybe this is their only option. Who cares? We can't be held hostage and allow them to continue to fund this nonsense because we don't want to harm some workers that happen to work for Target or whoever. I don't know who funds Kimmel's program. I don't care if it's GM or Ford or major automakers or pharmaceutical companies. Do whatever we can to cripple them, bankrupt them, and force them to make a permanent change, so that when their advertising people go to them and say, "Oh, do you want to advertise with whoever the next leftist talking head is?" They say, "Hell no, we're not getting anywhere near that. We lost $60 million because of Kimmel. So we'd prefer to advertise on, I don't know, the History Channel or somewhere else." We have to send a message, just like the left does to us, that it is dangerous for them to support and promote this kind of stuff. And that's exactly what they're doing. They are the ones funding it and allowing it to happen. So time for some punishment, guys. Time for some retribution.
Okay, well, as you were talking, I was just I went on Grok and I just put largest advertisers for Jimmy Kimmel. Here are the people you want to call: Allstate Insurance, McDonald's, Starbucks have been top spenders. Let's see, frequent the Farmer's Dog, Apple Computers, Shopify, NFL Network, Leaf Filter, Lincoln. God, and I used to love Lincolns. I mean, I still do, but Progressive Insurance, Ashley Home Goods, Rooms to Go, Xfinity, no shocker, Chevrolet, Nissan, Honda, Consumer Cellular, Amazon Prime. There's a whole slew of them. All you need to do is call their corporate headquarters and say, look, I've been a longtime customer and you've lost me and every member of my family for life if you continue to advertise on this prick's show.
No. Cancel your insurance policies. You need to cancel them now. Don't even give them a chance. They're already funding it. So if you've got Allstate or Progressive or whoever, get rid of them. Cancel your Amazon orders. They need a wave of pain or this will continue. So no more playing nice. Call them and tell them what you've already done and start encouraging other people to as well. If Allstate takes a $100 million hit in monthly policies right now, they're going to reconsider who else they support and what else they do. And that's how we've got to start playing the game. Because again, these wusses in DC are not going to do enough. If they do anything, hopefully they will. But I don't really have a lot of faith in them anymore other than for some harsh rhetoric. But again, get us back on track because we got limited time here. Cincinnati teacher posts video expressing disappointment that Trump assassination attempt failed. I got a video I'm going to play for you guys now. And heads up, you got kids in the room. There's a lot of F-bombs in this. But this is a recap of, and I think one of these videos is after one of the other attempted Trump assassinations. But this is a compilation. This is from Asmongold. But yeah, earmuffs if you got kids in the room.
John Wilkes Booth, if you can hear us.
John Wilkes Booth, if you can hear us, if you are with us, please. John Wilkes Booth, if you're listening.
Can you imagine being John Wilkes Booth and you successfully pulled off an assassination of the president and you get summoned into the year 2026 by this obese troll?
Let me get this straight. Dumbass! Have a fully reloaded shotgun, but you chose to use a one bullet.
We're not even sending our best to fucking assassinate. Cause what the hell was that? Lee Harvey Oswald.
Maybe they should drop you on them like a bomb.
Would never, bitch. John Wilkes Booth would never.
Today was like this close to being the best day ever.
Also, the person that at Trump at his rally was exercising that right that all those Republicans were fighting for. So
what, to shoot a random firefighter? I forgot. That's in the Bill of Rights. This is in the Second Amendment. It says you have the right to shoot random firefighters at a political rally.
It's coming. We're all gonna wake up one morning and roll over and grab our phones, and that fucking headline's gonna be right there.
If I see any one of you and I have a loaded shotgun, I'm putting it between your eyes. It starts with Trump first, obviously, and then it goes down the line of power. So if any of you guys are coming across my path and I happen to see you, it will be your last.
So this is the thing, is that why are people like this? Why are they not getting arrested? When one or two people start saying this, more people start saying it because they think it's okay. And then you have everybody saying it, and now you have a huge problem.
God damn it, they missed again. Who doing the fucking shoot?
Pulling the trigger unless you fucking have the shot.
This whole active shooter thing in the White House Correspondents' Dinner has got to be a setup. Somebody sat back and planned this for months and didn't get a single person. You thought about this for how long and didn't hit a single person and then got apprehended?
Because he's stupid. And also the Secret Service are really good at their job.
Apprehended immediately? There's no fucking way. This feels like a complete stunt to me.
I think people think that this is like a Jason Bourne movie where like he's going to be able to figure it out, track out all this stuff. You know what Jason Bourne's working for? The Secret Service. You're not going to get by these guys whenever they have infinite resources and power.
This man is stunting on us yet again because so many of his followers and believers believed it the first time.
How much do you want to believe that this girl believes in horoscopes?
Like, for those of us who have awoken and opened our eyes and actually understand.
I told you. That's crazy. 2 minutes.
Because I know this shit is staged. I know it is.
You know it's staged. I know it's staged because it didn't work. Again, this is the leftist Schrodinger's assassin. If it works, he deserved it. If it doesn't work, it was staged. That's it. Oh, this is even Alex Jones.
Everybody's asking me whether or not I think the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night in D.C. was staged. And the long and short of it is, no. You had too many of the D.C. police, Secret Service, all of them involved. The very small percentage of those guys are corrupt. I say right up front in the first minute that I don't think it's staged. Saying, you traitor like Candace Owens, how dare you say it? I don't think Candace Owens even commented yet. You guys just just froth. Anybody that ever questions anything Trump does, you've got to do your own research. You've got to look at the facts.
I've really got to, like, if I ever meet Alex Jones or go on his show, which, you know, there's a possibility that could happen, you know, I will say that communication has happened. I've got to ask him how he feels that he's now been outflanked. There are people who are even more conspiratorial than he is. You've lived long enough, you've been in the game long enough that people have totally gone even past it.
Does that mean that, you know, he's involved? I mean, just come on, folks. Come on.
I tell you what, I think that one girl towards the end there with the glasses, she's the teacher. I
Could
believe.
be.
And well, I know that if it's not her, it's somebody who looks an awful lot like her. And libs of TikTok blasted that all over, and it got shared hundreds of times. So I would wager by the end of the workday today, she's going to be unemployed, because that's
Well,
one
she
thing
should
that
be in
libs of
jail.
TikTok well, of course she should be in jail, but first she'll be unemployed. And that will happen because, you know, while we encourage people to call the advertisers of Jimmy Kimmel, and I certainly do, and I'm not one to call for boycotts because I think boycotts hurt the economy more than the employees of these places. I think it's not a good thing. But that said, to your point, sometimes you just got to say, hey, bite the bullet and do what's right. And Jimmy Kimmel needs to get have his career come to a screeching halt, and that teacher needs to be nowhere near children. Period. And you know, imagine if you will the left's reaction if the president of the Proud Boys was an 8th grade history teacher. How do you think they'd respond to that? They'd lose their mind.
Yeah. Well, and again, you know, this is why we've got to actually take things to the max and do something about it this time. Cripple the advertisers, make sure every one of these people's fired, because unfortunately, a lot of these from previous assassination attempts, which, good God, you know, the records Trump holds are just unbelievable. But you know, a lot of them never faced any repercussions. Yeah, sure, some of them got fired, but that's not enough. They need jail time, especially when you're making threats to assassinate somebody, and the left doesn't, like, freedom of speech. Well, again, that's not how that works. If the situation were reversed, again, they'd be calling for our heads. They'd want you locked up, and they'd want you buried under the jail, never to see the light of day ever again. So we got to treat them the same way. They need jail time. We have to wreck their lives if they have the audacity to go on social media and post videos of themselves encouraging assassination, celebrating it, encouraging violence. We've got to start taking the threat seriously.
Do you remember, Michael, real quick, just while you're saying this, it reminded me. Do you remember years ago in the 2007 primaries when Sarah Palin
targeting
put that ad out with targets on certain districts? And it is obviously what she was saying. We got to target these areas because this is what we need to win. The left went into a meltdown saying that she was calling for political violence. That pales in comparison to what they are openly advocating for every time they do a hit on CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times podcast, the New York Times editorial board, whenever they interview these folks. They are doing way more than political ad campaigns with target sites over congressional districts. They are openly saying he's a fascist, he's Hitler, he's a pedophile, his supporters are stupid, they are a cult, they are dangerous. And of course, that's projection. That's the projection.
Yeah. Well, according to Obama, you know, we have no idea why this happened. Obama thinks Trump's would-be assassin's motive is a mystery wrapped in an enigma. And unfortunately, we're seeing the same thing from a lot of journalists, too. They're ignoring the manifesto where he spelled it all out, where essentially their talking points. But once again, they pretend, you know, the motive's unknown. They're still doing this with the Charlie Kirk shooter, too. They were pretending this guy was right-wing, and a lot of them still are. So again, these people are delusional. They don't have valid opinions or thoughts. These are like, this is like arguing with a mental patient. A lot of them should be in mental institutions. That, or like arguing with a toddler. You know, a toddler's political philosophy is communism, because wouldn't it be just great if everybody had what they needed and we all shared shared and nobody needed anything. Well, that's not how the real world works. And they're essentially the same way. They just don't understand. I think they're just not capable. I think part of their brain did not fully develop, and they don't understand how the real world works. Instead, they live in imaginary fantasy land where you can have open borders. You can promote the LGBTQ nonsense agenda. Nothing bad will ever come of that. You don't need free and fair elections. They live in a world that doesn't exist, and we have to start treating them that way.
Well, they live in a world that doesn't exist, and therefore any method to get there is worthy. I mean, the end justifies the means and all that garbage. That's why what's his name? Luigi Mangione is considered a hero. It's okay, we can admit that murder is wrong, but I think it's important that you look at this in context. That's what they'll do. They'll start hemming and hawing on it. Same with obviously Trump is the big bad evil. The funny thing is these are the same people that they hate Trump, they hate conservatives, they hate the MAGA movement, they hate Israel, they hate secure borders. They sound an awful lot like the Iranian mullahs, don't they? Trump is the big bad evil. Israel is the little Satan. Trump is big Satan. They sound exactly like America's enemies, and there's a reason for that. Because they are America's enemies, and they're the enemies within. They're the fifth column, as it were. And they're being played by the media and by all the other groups that we've talked about. They're being played. I don't even think it's that they're mentally ill. I think they're being so brainwashed. It's just inundated with this stuff. I think the mental illness comes into play when they allow themselves to go down that rabbit hole. But there's plenty of rabbit holes, and they're all being promoted by the likes of CNN and the rest of them. I mean, I am happy. I will say I am happy to see CBS is starting to back off of this kind of garbage reporting, and they have
sort of,
except for 60 Minutes, which is kind of an independent entity. But slowly but surely, they're going to have to wind this shit back because. I don't know, man. I said after the last time that, people are going to wake up and get it. And they just.
Exactly. That's why they're not going to this time either.
Yeah. It's the only game they've got. This will be memory hold within 2 weeks. You will not have heard of this. Within 2 weeks, this will have fallen off the radar of all mainstream media outlets.
Yeah, and this is on the heels of it being unveiled that the SPLC was generating racism. We're paying for it. We're funding it because the supply of racism is nowhere near the demand the left has for it to continue their message and agenda. And Jim Jordan had a great video. I'm going to play this clip in a second for you guys. Jim Jordan goes off on the SPLC after shooter storms White House Correspondents' Dinner. And actually, I'll just go ahead and play this.
Now is the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for being here this morning. Give us your reaction.
Good to be with you. Well, first of all, the good news is that everyone's safe, and the Secret Service agent looks like he's going to recover, and everyone else was safe. I think that's the most important thing. But I was struck by a couple things. One, the poise and the composure of our commander-in-chief, our president. I don't think that should be lost on anyone. How he handled this situation and the two previous ones is something very few human beings you would see handle it the way he did. I mean, just under pressure, the way he handles it, not to mention what President Trump has had to deal with for the last 10 years on all the attacks by the left and the weaponization of government. Very few human beings could go through all that, persevere through all that, and handle things the way he has. So I think that was front and center. And then Todd Blanche was just speaking there. I don't think this should be lost on anyone either. The fact that we have a third assassination attempt on President Trump in that same week, we learn that the Southern Poverty Law Center has been paying and generating hate, the very hate they're supposed to be fighting, and they've been charged by the Justice Department. I don't think that's an accident that we learn about those two things this same week. This stuff has got to stop. But this left pushing the language and promoting the hate that we now learn that was going on with the Southern Poverty Law Center, so much so that they've been indicted. I don't think that's lost on anyone either this week.
Yeah, and you've been investigating the Southern Poverty Law Center. You've also been investigating Act Blue. What can you tell us about those investigations? What are you doing about it?
Well, I think it's important to remember with the Southern Poverty Law Center, remember, they put themselves out there as the standard. They were the ones who were going to say if you were a hate group, you were an extremist group. Moms for Liberty was extremist. The Family Research Council was some kind of hate group. I mean, they were supposedly the standard, and now we find out they were actually paying people to promote the hate that they were supposed to be fighting, for goodness sake, to the tune of $3 million, according to the indictment that Attorney General Blanche talked about. So this is serious. And I also, the Southern Poverty Law Center was the source cited in the now famous Catholic memo from the Ray FBI, where the Richmond field office had that memorandum where they said if you're a pro-life Catholic, you're an extremist. And, of course, who do they cite in that memorandum? They cite the Southern Poverty Law Center. So this is the stuff that's got to stop.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, the thing is the SPLC is once upon a time, they were a fine organization.
I don't know about that.
Well, no, I mean, once upon a time back in the 60s, when they first came into being, they were actually really fighting for civil rights and all that. They quickly found out that, and you know, I tell you what, Booker T. Washington said in 1911 that there's a certain brand of now he used the term Negro because it was 1911. He was a black man, though. He said, there's a certain number of Negroes that don't want the problems to go away, because if the problems go away, so do their jobs. There's money. So John Roberts on Fox a few days ago, and I may have mentioned this to you last time we were on the air, but I loved what he said because it's absolutely spot on. He said this is akin to a volunteer fire department paying arsonists to go out and light fires, so they have houses to save and they've got a job. That's what the SPLC was doing. And all these lefties that are saying, oh, this is just Trump's DOJ. Hey, numbnuts. They were indicted by a federal grand jury. This is way more than just some DOJ lawfare going on here. A federal grand jury, which by its very nature is bipartisan, said, yeah, they did it. And we've got evidence to, here's the evidence. And yeah, we were going to indict them. So this was a federal grand jury indictment. The SPLC is cooked. But what does it tell you, Michael, that you're not getting any reporting on this story on CNN, on MSNBC, the New York Times, Washington Post, NPR? They are ignoring it. And those are the same folks that are saying Trump is Hitler, Nazi, whatever. So they're completely
It's even worse. I mean, what I've seen on CNN and other places, again, they're defending it. They're pretending this is trumped up nothing. They're still going with this narrative that that these were paid informants. They weren't paying for events. They had people infiltrate, and that's how they were getting information, even though, again, reality is different.
BS. That's complete lie.
But that's
because
that's what they're telling.
People that got checks were blatant racist and had been for a long time.
Well, again, but this is what they tell their audience, and this is what gets people like this shooter or attempted shooter ginned up and ready to attack. Because, again, they keep perpetuating this nonsense. And this is why, again, something has to actually be done about it this time. There has to be accountability. Otherwise, these mouthpieces are going to continue doing this. And then, idiots like this that believe them, mentally ill dingbats, blue-haired moonbats, whatever you want to call them, these wine moms that believe all this nonsense, this is their justification. So again, there have to actually be repercussions. I mean, let's go with our Raskin over here. Try to sneak in the last couple stories before we wrap up. Democrat Rep. Raskin uses White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting platform to defend SPLC as fighting right-wing extremism, slams DOJ prosecution. And once again, they're saying, oh, well, this really just shows why we need more gun control. And he's not the only one out there doing it. But, for the left, it's always a victory. They're always the victim somehow. And they will twist anything around to move their agenda forward. Again, we got to learn a lesson from them and start fighting back the way they do. Maybe we can go back to a more civil time eventually, but you got to slay the dragon first.
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, it's the only game, it's the only card in their deck right now is hate Trump. So they're going to use it. And I think that while there is certainly some apathy of Republican and Trump supporters because of the lack of movement on the DOJ, one thing is very clear. there's been no lack of movement from the left. They're going to continue to push this garbage.
Yep.
I think that the blowback is coming, but you know what? We'll see. I don't know if it's going to be strong enough. I do know, though, that the SPLC, people need to go to jail there. People need to go to jail. They've already been indicted by a federal grand jury. That means they've rung them up. So it's time to sentence them and make a big to-do about it. They need to frog march these SOBs out, because these are the people that, like you said, that are ramping it up. And when they sit there and say, when the media says, oh, this is just a trumped up thing, well, they can't answer the grand jury question, so they won't even bother talking about it. They don't even mention that it was an indictment by a federal grand jury. They just say Trump's DOJ is off the rails and going crazy. It had nothing to do with the DOJ. It does now. It sure as hell does now, though. So we'll see what Todd Blanche does. He's saying all the right things. Let's see the prosecutions.
Yeah, because the time has long since passed to put up or shut up on a lot of these things. Making real arrests, actually enforcing the law. Maybe there need to be consequences for some people for some of this stuff, because the base is sick of hearing about it and not seeing anything happening. If I hear them tell me that they're going to deport Ilhan Omar for marrying her brother one more time, I'm going to lose it. I'm sick and tired of them trotting this stuff out and then never doing anything about it. Yeah, we all know exactly what's going on. You guys keep telling us. So it's time for the hammer to fall and something to actually happen.
Though, Michael. She's obviously
nervous. Right. Yeah, I bet she's real nervous. After revising her tax filings,
totally
whatever.
Fudged her finances. She all of a sudden, whoops! The winery closes last week. The winery that produced exactly 2 bottles of wine, apparently.
Well, again, same thing. I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. Let's see something happen. Because if there's never any consequences, then it's just going to continue. So I'd honestly at this point be shocked to see if this was finally the time that things changed. They'd finally gone too far and we were going to actually enforce the law and a fight to win. But hopefully you're right. Hopefully other people are right. I don't know if this is enough. But this is something I did learn. I was not aware of. Senator Ron Johnson on the importance of fully funding DHS. This obstruction by Democrats cannot go on. Apparently, Secret Service has been defunded this whole time, too. I don't know how I missed that. I don't know if it just wasn't widely reported and I never saw it, or I just blocked it out. But that's part of this, too. Secret Service wasn't getting paid last night. They haven't been paid in over 2 months. And again, it's because the left holding them hostage, just like a TSA. Because this is all they got. So again, time to change, time to do something. And guys, time to fight to win, time to get rid of the filibuster, ram through our entire agenda. They can cry about it. And that's how we should treat them. We need to put them on
that was, by the way, that was the same exact interview where Johnson said it's time to ditch, the filibuster. It's time to get rid of it. So Johnson is saying all the right things, and he sounds pretty passionate about it too. So this is why I said earlier that there may be some pressure being brought to bear on Thune. Now, whether he ever does actually do anything, you and me are both skeptical of that. But lighting up phone boards is a good way to get the message through. I'd continue to make sure you're calling. I called in the last month. I've called at least 5 times. I will continue to do so. And I encourage everyone to call Congress, your congressman, your local senator, hell, even a senator out of state. Just let them know. Let them know. This has got to go.
Tell them that you voted for them in the last election and you supported them financially, and you're not going to do that anymore. Because again, the only thing they care about is money. If you tell them you're not going to donate to their campaign, they don't know where you are, they don't know who you are. But if they keep getting calls like that into their office that you're not going to donate to their campaign anymore, that's when they take things seriously. So. Yeah. That's what we got to do. Again, we got to fight to win. But yeah, I have zero confidence. They've got their 4 rhinos and their filibuster. They know that they don't have to do anything. They can just go to sympathetic media and cry about it. They can talk about how the historical importance of the filibuster and how we can't just cave to Trump and his allies because they want things done now. And again, the media will project that message out for them. They'll pretend that they're the sane, rational ones that just want to preserve our democracy, and they're going to eat it up. They're going to get glowing stories in the New York Times and CNN and wherever else, and that's what they care about. They don't care about their voters. They don't care about the country. They've already built their little fiefdom. They're protected. So yeah, unless something major happens, I just don't see things changing. Maybe a little bit. Maybe we'll get little pieces here and there. We'll probably get some investigations. Maybe.
Fruit.
Yeah, but I mean, largely they're going to ignore it like they do everything else, and they're just going to pretend that we the rabble, the peasants, we just don't understand the complexities of what go on in D.C. and why they can't eliminate the filibuster. I mean, it's upside down and backwards, and if they don't change quick, we're going to get smoked.
Wouldn't it be great, though, Michael? I mean, wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful if we came on the air one day and said, "Holy shit, they did it"? I mean, I hold on to hope. I'm a naturally optimistic person, but there hasn't been a lot to be hopeful for. But there's a reason Pam Bondi's not there anymore, and a lot of it has to do with the pressure that was being brought on her by Trump supporters. So that pressure hasn't gone away. If anything, it's ramped up, especially after this assassination attempt. So we'll see. But wouldn't it be wonderful if we came on one day and say, "Oh my God, did you see James Comey in the orange jumpsuit?" Wouldn't that be lovely to see?
It would.
That said, it'd also be lovely to see Santa Claus coming down the chimney one night, I guess.
Bingo. Yep. And, they've been they couldn't even pick back up the case they had against Comey or Letitia James. They gave them 4 months to refile with different attorneys, and they even botched that. So I just have zero hope for them at this point. Maybe, I hope I'm wrong, but I think unless we get somebody like a Peter Tickton or Andrew Bailey or Matt Gaetz or somebody that's really aggressive that wants to put.
It's going to be a little bit politically radioactive for them, but I do think
maybe it's time for that now. It's time for a change in management, and a change in tactics.
It might be, but I'm just saying that he would have to be confirmed, and there's a lot of people that, even good ones, that won't touch him because of all the allegations from women against him and all that. But I do think that Senator Mike Lee would be the answer to all of our woes, because Mike Lee has made it abundantly clear that he wouldn't dick around.
Here's my problem with pulling Mike Lee, another senator, especially, clearly we didn't learn our lesson with Mark Wayne Mullins. Do you know who replaced Mark Wayne Mullins for his seat in the Senate? The guy who funded Adam Kinzinger's campaign. So we can't pull anybody that's good from any position of power. And Mark Wayne Mullins wasn't even great, but he was, good enough for the last couple of years, because we're going to get some other rhino loser, because that's how they cut these deals behind the scenes.
Well,
so
you might be right about that. I'd hate to see.
We'd probably end up with Mitt Romney again. They'd probably put Mitt Romney back in that seat in Utah. They would find some other rhino even worse if we moved Mike Lee. I guarantee it.
That's a good point.
Any words of wisdom you want to leave the audience with before we wrap things up?
All I would do is underscore the fact that, folks, the best, if you really want to change your country, you've got to start by changing the way you go about doing business with your fellow countrymen. And in this case, I would call people up that are airing Jimmy Kimmel. I would call people up that are advertising on some of these networks. I'm not saying boycott, but definitely let them know, hey, I'm keeping my eye on you. I just think that the wrath of the American people is just being tapped into. The left has found a way to tap into it strong. They use hateful rhetoric and stuff. We don't need to do that. What we need to do is say, I'm going to speak with my pocketbooks and my wallet. And nobody in my family will be buying Allstate insurance. And in fact, we're going to cancel our insurance. Starbucks, you're dead to me. That kind of stuff. That, I think that is important because the left does that all the time, and they do it very successfully. And they scare these big corporations, but the corporations aren't scared of the right. Therefore, they don't pull their advertising from rabid, maniacal shows like I don't even know what the hell of his name of his show is. The Jimmy Kimmel Show, is that what it's called?
Probably.
I don't know.
Now I will say this. Yeah, just go ahead and dump them now. Get rid of your insurance. You have them through it. Tell them this is why. Cut any ties you have with any of these companies. A message has to be sent. It's unacceptable. It can't go forward. We need to cost them financially. Sell your stock if you have it. Do whatever you can to harm these corporations that are harming us and promoting these people. And do it once and for all. Start looking at who advertises on CNN. Same things. Cancel any ties you have with them and call them up. Do both. But there has to actually be a financial disincentive to support this kind of stuff. We have to make all these companies nervous. So the only ones that are left are the ones that really don't care, that already hate you as well. So, you know what? It's, you know, like places like Ben and Jerry's, you know, if you own a store that carries some of the products from places like this, get rid of them. Tell them they're not welcome on your shelves anymore. Cut out their market share. Remember, that's what they've done to Mike Lindell and others. We got to start playing the game to win. We got to start playing by their rules. They're the ones setting it. No more being nice to these people at all, ever. They have to be cut out of polite society and removed once and for all. Steve, thanks again for joining us. Guys, remember, you can watch The Right Hook every Friday, 5 p.m. right here on 4 p.m. Eastern, every Friday, right here on X America News. To our audience, thank you guys for being here with us today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And I'll be back tomorrow with the